Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to walk you guys through the process that I have for an upcoming shoot that I have next February. So I need to light a panel discussion, like a table talk with 4 people, and I'm going to show you kind of my process for that and how I'm going to do that and just kind of go over some of the gear. And as of right now, I don't really have any work lined up for the remaining of the year. It's currently December 13th, and I'm purposely trying not to take on any more work this year, just so I can prep for those bigger shoots, January, February, and spend more time with family and not have to travel a bunch and whatnot. So as you can tell, the shop here is a mess. So I'm planning on using this time to organize some stuff and just get ready for a busy year next year. So I'm gonna show you guys my process on how I prep for the shoot and the equipment that I'm gonna use. And I usually try and set up a mock scenario so that way when I get onto location I know exactly where everything's kind of go relatively, and I'm not trying to like figure things out on the day and on the spot. There's no time to do that. So I'm spending this time now trying to figure all those details out so that way when I get on the shoot, everything's good. So yeah, I'll show you guys the equipment and let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you guys is this new DJI Osmo. I'm going to try and incorporate this a little bit more into the BTS. It's pretty simple to use, and the things that I like about it is I don't have to use my phone, which can sometimes be annoying to use my phone on like a shoot. So I'm gonna try and incorporate this a little bit more, see if it works the way I'm thinking it will. And I'm also using it as like I actually bought it for my Europe trip just to have in case we got into a scenario where I couldn't use my bigger camera. At least I would have something that has somewhat decent quality. I mean, I feel like this is very similar to like an iPhone 15 as far as like what it looks like what the footage looks like. So yeah, but it's just super easy to set up and I've been liking it so far. But yeah, let's get into the actual video. So for this shoot, like I said, a panel discussion, I'm gonna use a Menace arm. So I have a Matthews kit with a 10-foot, I think this is 10-foot Menace arm. It's just speed rail, but I'm gonna use this to hang a light so that way I can have an even spread across the 4 people. So I'm gonna use a Menace arm. I gotta bring a combo stand for the Menace arm, and I'm gonna use a lantern as kind of my diffusion. So I'm gonna get this stuff in the house and I'll see you guys over there. Okay, so these are the components that I'm going to use for the Menace arm. This is a Matthews kit, and it comes with these black pieces here, and then you can just buy your own speed rail for whatever size you need. I usually keep it built just because it is a little bit of a pain to set up. You got to have a little hex screw. They do have some that have actual like T-handles like this, but that's not the version I have. So yeah, I usually leave it built. What I think I'm gonna do though is you can buy like a joiner. I might have a joiner so that way I don't have to transport a 10-foot speed rail. I could maybe do like 5 and 5, and that would easily fit in my van as opposed to having to put it on the roof. So yeah, I might do that. And then I have a Aperture Lantern 90. I'm hoping the skirt is in there just because I don't remember last time I actually used this. And knowing me, I probably would have taken it out and put it somewhere else. So hopefully that's not the case. And then I just have a regular combo stand with some sandbags. And then you can use any sort of light fixture that you want on the end of this thing. Just the more weight you have on it, you need to counteract the weight. So more sandbags, or in my case, I use a lot of ratchet straps. But I still, just rule of thumb, I like to keep the fixture pretty lightweight, not put like a 600X or a 1200D or anything like that on the end of a Menace arm. You definitely can, but you just have to rig it a little bit better. But yeah, so these are the main components, and I will get this set up inside and show you what I'm working with. Okay, so I got everything inside for a mock setup. Now this is not going to be exactly how I'm going to do it. This is more of just a rough estimate. So main camera, Menace arm, lantern's going to go roughly just above the table. So the table right now only has 2 seats, but essentially I need up to 4 or 5. It's not going to be this table, but concept wise, probably be a little bit bigger table, but I'll need to have up to 5. So I started off with 4, but knowing this client, they're going to want the ability to have 2 people or 3 people, just a different mixture throughout the day. It's not just going to be 5 the whole entire time or 4. Just the way I've worked with this client in the past, I just know preemptively how it's going to be. So I need to set up, I'm just going to do 2 for now, but the principle should be the exact same with 1 or 5. So this is just addressing the Menace arm. Obviously I will have backlights and stuff to give a little bit of a breakup between subject and background. But essentially we're going to be in a hotel suite, quite a large suite. So this is roughly what I'm thinking. Main camera here, and then I'll have a camera here, another camera here, and then I might even have a slider off to one of the sides, or maybe just below this camera, just an automated slider. So that way it would give me enough coverage for up to 5 people. So if there are 5 people, I will have the slider that captures the whole 5 people. I'll have this camera that will potentially cover 1 person in the middle. And that will essentially, I think, be our host or something of that nature. Then the camera here will cover 2 people on the reverse. And then the camera on this side will cover 2 people on the other reverse. So that's going to be rough camera coverage. And then backlights, I'll have to have them so they're not in the shot. So there might be maybe another boom arm or something just to get something up a little bit higher. What would be nice is having a 4-foot tube maybe directly behind that gives enough of a backlight. So maybe I can work on a boom arm or something just out of frame and have that be the backlight solution. So yeah, I'll get this roughed in and show you guys what I'm talking about more. So I did get this new SmallRig light to test out and review. So I'm going to be using this as my main light on the Menace arm. Now SmallRig did send this to me for free, but they're not controlling what I say about it. So I'll let you guys know if it's good or bad. I have a feeling it's going to be good. It looks halfway decent, and I mean, lights today, it's hard to make a bad one. So I'll talk more about this as we kind of go on. Okay, so this is what the fixture itself looks like. It does have a V-mount right on the back, but it also comes with this little AC adapter that goes on the V-mount that powers the light. So I thought that was pretty neat. I know some lights, you have to have an attachment that hangs off the side, and then you have to put in the battery itself, and it just gets a little weird. But this is kind of more so integrated into the actual fixture. So if you're just going battery powered, this is the only part of the light that you need. You don't need this part. So that's a really small footprint. It does have a natural yoke built in, which is pretty solid. There are some plastic components, but I feel like, you know, it should hold up pretty solid for the price point. And then, yeah, I mean, it's bi-color, which is nice. Most of my lights now I tend to have bi-color, especially for the key light. I don't usually do RGB for the key light, but yeah. So right now we were currently at like 40%, and then we're at 5,500. So you can, you know, go down to 27, or you can go up to 65. You can flood this thing at 100, and it's super bright. Especially for something like this, I think I'm only ever gonna need maybe 50%. So we'll go back down to 40 and then go to 55. And yeah, that I think is gonna work perfect. Okay, so I got everything set up. I had to adjust a few things just because of the layout of my living room here. I didn't want to have to move like couches and stuff like that by myself. So I have the Menace arm more sidey here, as opposed to closer to main camera. So I don't think it would be a problem if it was here, just because I would never have someone seated directly behind it or in front of it. I would have them more like here, so camera coverage would be probably clear, but generally I would want that more closer to camera just to avoid it completely. So that was one thing I had to pivot. I could have moved the couch and then brought it right here, but it wasn't long enough to go past the couch and still hit the table directly. So I'll have to keep that in mind when I actually do the full setup. And I know lots of people are probably gonna say I set up the Menace arm wrong or whatever. I'm sure there's tons of more experienced grips out there that if you want to leave some feedback, feel free to do that in the comments. But this is just the way I set it up. I use ratchet straps instead of sandbags or counterweight. And then I couldn't get it exactly level the way I wanted to, just because I do have a ceiling fan up here and I didn't want to hit the ceiling fan. So hopefully that won't be an issue when I actually do this thing. And of course I don't have safety chains on the fixture. That's something you would definitely want to do if you had talent under this light. You'd want to have safety chains just to really ensure it doesn't fall. So yeah, keep that in mind. This is just a quick, rough demonstration, but you definitely want to make this a little bit safer. But this is just what I have right now. And then as far as camera, I have the FX9 as my main camera, and I believe I have a 50mm lens, or I have a zoom lens, but it's currently at 50mm, and that's given me somewhat of a wider shot. Like I said, I'll probably have a slider just beneath this or off to one of the sides, getting a true wide shot of the whole table. And then this guy would just be focused on the host or whoever's in the middle of the round table. That's kind of what this would look like. But yeah, I mean, the actual fixture itself, the SmallRig fixture, worked pretty well. I was happy with how everything worked. Taking it brand new out of the box, it only took like a minute to get set up. It works well with this Lantern 90 from Aperture. Sometimes fixtures don't play well with different Bowens mounts. They're just like the depth sometimes doesn't, they're not compatible with all Bowens attachments, but this one I can say it works well with the Lantern 90 from Aperture, and I'm assuming it would work with most of the Aperture modifiers. So that's good to know. And I do like that there's no ballast on this actual light, so you don't have to dangle anything off of this Menace arm. It's just you plug in a cable, which is the standard, I forgot what it's called, like PCE cable, PICE, whatever. That cable goes all the way down, and then I just ran an extension stinger to the wall. So I think that could potentially be nice and clean. I know sometimes people will use the ballast as like a counterweight for a Menace arm, but for me, it more so gets in the way. And I believe SmallRig does have an app so you can control the light with your phone, so that way you don't have to get on a ladder and get up there and dial it in. So that's nice. I currently have the light at like 40%, so you don't need a ton of output when you have the fixture this close. Even balancing for the windows currently, 40% is enough to see out the window. So you don't need this thing at 100%. Maybe if there's like a sunset or something and you're really trying to save the highlights, I don't know, maybe you would need a little bit more, but then you're kind of cooking your talent and they're gonna probably complain about it being too bright. But yeah, so 40% was more than enough with this 220 watt light. So that's great. I think this is gonna work perfect for my key light for this shoot. And it's nice and lightweight. It doesn't weigh a ton. It's not like a huge fixture. So I think this is perfect for a setup like this, a Menace arm. You need something lightweight and an even spread of light. I do have the skirt on this Lantern 90 just to direct more of this light. So it's just tabletop instead of it spreading throughout the whole room. Now, depending on what the location looks like, I might lose the skirt, might want to light up more of the scene and have it a little bit more flat. I don't know. This client, they're typically financial advisors, so everything is high key. They don't really care too much if it's cinematic or whatever. They just want everyone to be lit bright. So that will potentially change depending on location. But right now I have it skirted, and I'll let you guys see what it kind of looks like through the camera here. Okay, so this is what the camera looks like so far with the FX9. It is a little bit more dramatic than I would typically go, especially this client. They're gonna want everyone properly lit. It's very high key, business, casual, that sort of thing. So I might have maybe a couple more lights set up by main camera, just kind of giving a little bit of a lift, maybe even something right below camera. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, this is a little bit more dramatic than I'm thinking I need to go for the shoot. So that's good to know. I'll need to set up a few more little additional lights. And then obviously the only thing that's missing is a hair light. I don't know if we're going to be shooting in front of windows like this. This does add a little bit in the background, but because I am wearing black, and if it is like a little bit of a darker background, I'll definitely need to bring in like a hair light just to give it a little bit of separation. So I'm going to plan on that for sure. But as you can tell, this is, 50 mil on the camera. This isn't as wide as I would need to go for 5 people. I could maybe do 3, so one here, one here. But obviously if I need to do 5, I'll have to rely on that slider camera that can do maybe like a 24 and get the whole table in there. And this is not the table. I'll need something bigger, maybe a little bit, I don't know. I don't know yet what kind of table we're gonna be using and what kind of chairs, but this is just what I had in the house to kind of demonstrate this, for example. But yeah, so I feel pretty good about the way everything is working. The Menace arm, I feel like works great. The fixture works great. Right now I'm at 40%, so definitely a lot of room to play with depending on how many people I have on the scene. But yeah, I think something like this is gonna work perfect. I have a good idea now of how I'm gonna shoot this thing. So yeah, obviously it's not gonna be Christmas in the background. This is just what we have at our house right now. It's almost Christmas. We're gonna be filming this in February or March, something like that. So obviously background's gonna be way different in a different location, in a hotel suite. So this is just practice for me. So hopefully you guys have found this info useful. And now if you ever have to shoot a table talk or a panel discussion, you at least know kind of the basics. I'm sure plenty of you guys already know. But if you don't know, this is a good resource for someone who needs to have a crash course on what they would do to do something like this. So hopefully this video has been useful to you guys. I know when I was looking at possibly doing a table talk or a panel discussion for the first time a number of years ago, I didn't really know how to approach it. And I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but this is how I like to do it. I'm sure a number of people like doing it this way as well. But hopefully this is helpful to some of you who need like a crash course on how to light, multiple people for a panel discussion. And let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below, or any sort of feedback, or what you would do differently. And then I'll see you guys in the next one.